Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad. My name is Austin.
And my name is Patrick.
And guys, welcome back to our show.
Yeah, we got AVT and PAT. They talking about young Americans overseas. We got McKinney, Pulisic, Rainer, and Dest. Got that red, white, and blue. USA on the crest from England, Germany, from Belgium to Spain. Racking up all the medals on the trophy train. Got one thing on their mind, we're skill and some luck. One day we can say we will win the World Cup.
All right, guys. Well, we're back again. Thanks for bearing with us. And Pat, we picked a great week to come back, right? We actually have some good storylines this week, some positive performances from our players, positive storylines, but also, one or two negative ones as well to cover.
Yeah, you know what? We were just kind of giving it some time for players to pick it up. Now we have the storylines, we got the headlines, right? So some clutch genes there, right? That we've come to know and love some of our Americans abroad. So yeah, a lot to kind of pack in and digest, right? From injuries and drama to, again, exciting goals. I mean, we have it all.
Yeah, and we're also, we have a big summer planned ahead, right, Pat? We kind of took last week to compartmentalize our thoughts for the summer. So we got some good content cooking up in the works. So, stay tuned to the channel and
Season coming to an end, right? So there's a lot of exciting topics, right? Because we've qualified, right? So a lot to prepare for this summer, Austin.
Yeah, it's a big summer. But, we should talk about this weekend, right? That's what we're doing our episode on today. So I'll start us off with Christian Pulisic. And, hey, Christian was back on the score sheet this weekend, playing the hero for Chelsea, scoring late in their game against West Ham, getting that goal for them to go on and get the win there. And, it was great to see Christian score. Just really, use it was just great, right? He got in a good spot at the end of the game there. And if you get in a good spot, right, the ball will find you. And that's exactly what happened with Christian. So, he kind of made a late run into the box, hung out there, ball fell to him, and, he blasted home Chelsea's lone goal on the day. And, another 3 points for Chelsea. They sit firmly in third, Pat. I don't think they're really going anywhere, right? They're not going to second. Liverpool, Man City are kind of way out in front of them. And Arsenal, Man United, Tottenham are 5+ points back. So all in all, they kind of keep that third place locked down on the weekend. And this was, Christian Pulisic's first goal since March 5th. So I think it was a really, it was good to see him score this weekend, right? It was good to see him battle back from some of the adversity he's been facing the past few weeks, right? Not being in the starting lineup, Chelsea getting, ousted in the Champions League. It seems like ever since he came back from international duty, things have not been as easy for him, right? Or, things have not been as positive. So I think, seeing this goal was really positive in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's definitely tough. I mean, you saw that with the trend, right, with Horvath coming back to Nottingham and some of the U.S. players, right? So it's sometimes tough, coming back from international break and kind of getting in the groove, right, and gel with your club, especially with a club like Chelsea. This was huge for him. And Austin, that something that we know, when he is just on, right, and in form, he's making those confident runs. He knows where to go. He's a really intelligent player, and I read that situation very well. And you just find goals like that, once in a while. I think he did against Lille too in the Champions League, and he just finds these pockets of space and just, again, right place, right time. But he put himself in that position to score. So he definitely does a lot of that, those extra runs, right? Maybe he doesn't get it, 7-8 times out of 10, but he does have that presence in the box, which is pretty unique.
Yeah, and that's honestly been a staple of his play at Chelsea, right? Is kind of those, late arriving goals, like you said, and just really making intelligent runs, and capitalizing on, balls in from his teammate, right? That's, exactly what happened here. Nice cross into the box, and right place, right time. There was one other, in talking about coming back from international duty, right? There was one quote we saw kind of floating around Twitter, I think is interesting to bring up here, right? It's a good talking point. So It was from Andrew Doss, and he basically paraphrased a Thomas Tuchel quote, and he said, in reference to Pulisic, essentially lost his place at Chelsea because of USMNT duty in March. A lot of games and a lot of journeys and a lot of time zones. So I just want to, pitch that to you, Pat. We did see kind of a change when Pulisic came back from international duty, not getting the starting minutes. Do you think that's fair of Thomas Tuchel to kind of use international duty as a reason to drop him from the starting lineup, or do you think that's not fair, and that he was in good form, you could say, in that window, right? Had a hat trick in that second game. I think did a pretty decent job in all those games there. Do you think that's fair, Pat? What say you on that?
Yeah, I appreciate you throwing it over to me, Austin, because I don't buy that. I really don't.
Okay.
I'm being blunt. I think that's kind of silly. I'm not sure why the reasoning there for that. I mean, I think it's really back to, again, not really a problem. And Pulisic said, right? It's a top club with a lot of talent, right? Folks at your heels, or players at your heels, right? Any moment. So you just see it throughout the season. Werner, he cooled off, wasn't getting the time. Now he gets into form. Pulisic has moments too. Loftus-Cheek, Kovacic, like everybody in Chelsea, you name top clubs. I mean, you're fighting for your place week in and week out, and just based on lineup. So I'm just surprised he didn't kind of go with, well, maybe he preferred this certain tactics or these lineups, right, for these specific games or situations, or hey, Timo picked it up, or hey, so and so gel better together. I don't know. I just don't really buy the international stuff, because there are other players also on international duty.
Yeah, and it's kind of curious too, right? Like, how did they come back from their international breaks? Maybe some of those other players, were more informed than Christian. I unfortunately didn't take too much stock in, some of those other players and how they perform for their nations. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting quote, and it really kind of fits the narrative we've seen with Tuchel in his time at Chelsea, right? He's very willing to rotate that lineup. He's very willing to kind of make changes if a player is, not playing up to the standard that they need. And I think it's good overall, right? It keeps those players on their toes. It never lets them get complacent, right? We've seen Christian Pulisic go through some really good runs of form, and then we've also seen him go through, some bad runs of form, right? Where he's not really producing on the field. He's not looking comfortable. And, with Tuchel, that means, you get dropped, right? You got a lot of players at the club, and positions are, really hard fought for the team, right? So, I think it's really interesting to hear international duty, specifically brought up as a reason he wasn't getting the playing time. But hey, I think, this performance this weekend really gives him, a boost of confidence, right, Pat, going into, the final month of the season here.
For sure. And Christian's a really poised, just calm, collected player, right? Has that strong mentality. We know that. And like you said, I think the most important thing, I'm glad you brought it up, was just the complacency, right? And like you said, we've seen some dips and forms in the past, and even from an injury perspective too. So again, not having to play 100% of the time, start week in and week out, but really be able to push, right? If you have a bad game or two, be able to pick it up off the bench. There's limited minutes that you have, right, to really make an impact, which really raises your level, right, your mentality, your sharpness, because you only have this small window as a substitute to make an impact. So I think he's really suited for that, and he has that kind of clutch gene in him.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you've seen that time and time again from him, right, in his career. And it's really interesting too, looking ahead to the next few games they have coming up, right? They play Man United midweek this week on Thursday.
Easy
so that's
game
another
now, Austin. Easy game.
Easy game. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the way Man United's been playing, could be an easy game. But, that's another one on the schedule. We see Chelsea go up against Leeds, right? Mid-May. That'll be an interesting game, right? An American player versus an American coach in the Premier League. That's a pretty cool matchup. But the one game I'm really circling for Christian, to finish the season, I think it's an easy game to call out, right, is the FA Cup final, Chelsea versus Liverpool. We've seen Christian, provide a really big impact in, FA Cup finals in the past. It's a competition now that he has a lot of experience in. So, I'll be curious to see what he can do in these games leading up to that final, right? That's a huge game for him, huge game for his career. And yeah, I think again, Chelsea are trying to get silverware this year after, not really putting up a fight in Premier League and not getting back to where they were last year in the Champions League final. So I think it'll be cool to kind of see how this season plays out and what role Christian can play in it.
For sure. And he always has Alexander-Arnold on his skates. So Pulisic just loves playing against Liverpool.
I
hope he gets a start. I know it's tough. And maybe being more pessimistic, I feel like he might be coming off the bench in the 65th or 70th minute to provide a spark if needed. But I would love to see him start and get that full run because for whatever reason, he plays really well against Liverpool. And kind of suited to that, right? Because Liverpool plays such a high line. Chelsea can counter. He's a great transition player. And again, he just, for some reason, destroys Alexander-Arnold all the time. But I guess pivoting, right? We should talk about
a player that should be going to Liverpool next year. No, I'm kidding.
That's it. But we're talking about our goal-scoring machine in the Swiss league. Austin, he scored 2 goals this past weekend for Young Boys, played 83 minutes in a 3-1 win. So nice to see him get back on track. I know it's not the exact place, right? It's pretty much win the league or bust, I think, from kind of like Salzburg, honestly, in terms of their league, right? But that makes it 26 goals and 5 assists for Pefok across all competitions, 21 in the league. So he's really killing it from a goal scoring perspective, right? So with these goals in the game, very, very identical, Austin, where I think the left back crossed it in first. Pefok had a nice pocket of space between the 2 center backs where he just, a beautiful header, looped it over the goalie for the first one. And the second one, again, it was kind of movement in around the box, split the lines in the center backs, and then had another header. So he's just a goal-scoring heading machine, to be honest. And if you get the right service to him, which we've seen, again, with watching Young Boys, seeing these highlights, I mean, they know that's their targets, right? That their target striker, that's their main guy. So he really fits into a system that plays and caters to him, right? Gives him that service, actively looks for him, gets those chances in the box because he'll put them away.
Yeah, and this was his 4th goal in 3 games. So, kind of picking up where he left off before international break. And I think, you said it, Pat. These were very similar goals to ones we've seen him score in the past. And he's just very, very good in the air, right? He's got that big frame. He uses it well. And I just, we were talking a little bit off camera before we started filming that, the opportunities he gets there in the Swiss league for Young Boys are a little bit different than, the ones we see for the USMNT, right? We don't really see as much, aerial crosses into the box, I feel like, as we do, in some of the European leagues, right? It's just not really in our DNA, right? There's a lot of those like low driven crosses. There's a lot of play through the midfield to try and create goal scoring opportunities. And let's be honest, right, Pat? Like we don't have to, we're not a team that creates an abundance of goal scoring opportunities. So it's just kind of interesting to see, what his strengths are. And again, try and see how they line up with, our national team's strengths and try and chart out a plan, right, for how Pefok can get more involved going forward.
Yeah, you brought up some really interesting points as to maybe why, we've historically, right, from a USMNT, just American perspective, played like that, versus what Pefok's doing, right, and the service he's getting and just kind of the different nuances of the game in different regions of the world. So that was interesting that you brought that up too. But I think it's just so polarizing because, you see now the Haji comparisons, right? Oh, Haji's in a better league and he's scoring goals. Oh, it's just only popped up within the last week, right, on Twitter. But I don't know. There's all these arguments, right? MLS compared to the Swiss league, you can definitely argue that MLS is a lot better. But it's just he's such a unique player where, I mean, if you have someone like that at your disposal, I think, again, just how I'm looking at it is maybe it's not, definitely not a start, right, for Pefok in terms of the way Berhalter plays. Maybe that changes, future coaches down the line, right, or different formations. But seems like with Berhalter's 9, that's just not how Pefok operates and how he plays. But if things need to change, right, if we're late second half of games, I think I brought this up before, just end of the games where you need a spark, you need someone to get in there. And you just have to like play to him, right? Give him the service, which we didn't really necessarily do either. I mean, obviously he missed a huge sitter, right, for Reina, but aside from that, not involved in the game at all. No, like you said, not much service, given through his chances with the USMNT. And even looking at your outside backs, right, that Young Boys has versus what we have, you see some of, again, those kind of, I don't think awkward's the right term, but kind of those low, medium, strange crosses that Anthony has sometimes. But mainly it's playing on the ball, on the ground, right? Like you said, kind of combination play. You even see that with Dest or someone on the right, anyone on the right. That even Yedlin doesn't.
Tim Weah, Tim Weah has a lot of those low crosses into the box.
Yeah, you don't really see like at all, those looping balls, like a lot of just purposeful, maybe it's long or just, pointed crosses there from the USMNT kind of outside, wing or outside back players.
Yeah, and I think there's potential for it, right? I mean, we've seen it a little bit from Anthony. Dest has the quality to put those types of balls in, and some of our attackers do as well. But it's not the way we've been playing, and it's not. I feel like it's just not that common in American soccer, and I don't know why that reason is. Maybe it's because we don't have too many of those, really aerial, strong strikers.
Right, that's fair. That's fair.
In our leagues, or growing up in the youth games, I feel like heading is maybe not as prevalent in America, but I could be wrong. Feel free to comment below if that's not the case growing up. But I feel like a lot of our play comes from playing through the midfield primarily, right? Exactly. And some of those low crosses on breaks, right? Trying to get, that final ball in behind the defense and pass it, what is it? The triple X ball, right? From FIFA where,
that's pretty accurate, actually. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah. And I feel like, Pefok is the complete opposite of that, right? Like he's someone who does dunk on players in the air, right? And I think, again, you said it best, right? If we have to change formations for certain games, especially looking at the World Cup, right? In a tournament, you want players who have different skill sets to kind of fill different needs throughout a tournament. And I think Pefok could definitely be, our bigger striker who's more that poacher and someone who, again, if we're down in a game or if we need a goal, I think we throw balls up to him and be more intentional with getting crosses into the box in the air to him and see if good things can happen. Because again, I really believe in good form and sustained form being a good indicator of what a player is, able to do and how much he can help a team. Right. I don't think Pefok is, yes, maybe it's not the best league, but again, he's got such sustained form this year and it's been such a good year for him.
I think he's across all comps, like Europe.
I mean, that's a lot, man.
And again, it's not saying it's the best league in the world, right, by any means, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think again, someone who can do that and sustain that success, that level of success, I think is someone that can help us, especially right now. So I feel like we talk about this a lot, so I don't want to, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I think again, it's just good to see that there's options out there. There's players who are scoring right now because there's not too many of them, unfortunately, for a lot of.
I think that's the key point and why we always beat the dead horse, right? You
can't take it for granted, right? There's really not many options out there right now, so I feel like we need to, be positive about the players that we have right now and try and see how they, best fit in and can help us. So, yeah, I guess with that, we'll transition over to another, feel good moment this weekend. And that was Brenden Aaronson winning the Austrian league title for Salzburg. So, to not to get ahead of myself here, there was a game that was played over the weekend, and that was basically Salzburg winning 5-0 over Austria Wien. And in this game, Brenden Aaronson took a penalty for their fourth goal and really, drilled it. It was a really good penalty. And it was the first time I think we saw him take a penalty in a game. Maybe he took one for the Union back in the day, but I'm pretty confident in saying he hasn't taken one for Salzburg yet. So that was a pretty interesting moment to see. Maybe we'll see that, in the future for the USMNT, for maybe another team he joins, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But, this is this is his second league title in a row over there in Austria since making the move last winter. And yeah, it's just great to see, again, making that move and taking that chance on himself, going to a league where, again, a lot's asked of that team, right? They're expected to win the league every year. They're expected to do well in, European play, right? And I feel like Brendan's really risen to the level that, the level of standard they have there at Salzburg. So yeah, I think, it's a really good sign to see him play such a big role in that team this year, right? He was one of the leaders on the team. His transfer value right now is 22 million on transfer market, which is pretty impressive for, again, a team like Salzburg, right? They always have some prospects they move on. And it looks like Brendan's, fully developed into one of those players. And, we'll see what that brings this summer, Pat.
Yeah, I think that's it, Austin, this summer. I mean, I don't see how he doesn't make the move, right? To a higher level team in league there. He really has stepped up to the plate, right? Transitioning from the Union, it's hard, just coming to the European League, and especially getting your place like in that, right, over time. In terms of Salzburg, there's a lot of prospects that come in now. You could have a whole list of the past 5 years or so, and even now, just the amount of talent and caliber that's come through. So that to see him kind of master right that level and just seems like he's ready, right, to take that next step. And I think that'll do wonders for him with the USMNT, right, from that perspective too. I know obviously we've talked about Leeds or just, other teams too rumored, but I'm really excited. I think you have to make the move. His value is so high. He's playing at a high level. I know it's a risk right before the World Cup, but I'm in full favor of him transferring to a bigger club now.
Yeah, and we're always very cautious when we talk about these moves, right? Especially this summer before the World Cup. You got to be careful about what team you go to, what situation you get yourself into. And I really fully support Brendan moving this summer. I think staying at Salzburg for another season, even if it's just another half season through the World Cup, it's just not the right level for him right now. I think he's ready to take that next step. I think he's personally, I think he's just his needs are satisfied there at Salzburg, right? His passion, or he went there to get better as a player, prove they can make it in Europe, right? For a very basic level goal, and then also win trophies, and he's done that, right? So I really feel like he's met all the accomplishments he's wanted to meet there. He's met all those objectives. It's time to move on. Time to find a bigger team to play in. And hey, maybe it will be Leeds. Maybe it will be a reunion with Jesse Marsch. We'll kind of see what the future holds, but I'm looking forward to it. I think whatever team he goes to, he's someone that can help the team day one. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, just his mentality, just another player. I think, again, I'm not comparing in terms of the play, but just the mentality that Pulisic has, right? To be able to step up. I feel like I can just kind of see him being like Pulisic, a little brother to him, right? In terms of just, being able to navigate, those challenging situations, going to a club and really establishing yourself, the work ethic, the hustle, getting back and tracking, and as well as just pressing like a madman. I mean, all those, he has the skills and technical ability, right? The vision, everything like that to succeed. But I think those are important qualities that you have to have for anything, right? In life, to be able to step up, not to get all philosophical and deep, right? But he has that foundation, and we both know he'll be fine. I think we said it last season on Yacht too. Like, if Aaronson, okay, we just need this one season, right? One more season at Salzburg. He's done it now, right? And now it's the time to make the move, right? Leave the nest.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, I agree fully with that, I think. Yeah. You want to move on to our final player for today, Pat?
That's right. Final player, Serginho Dest. And there's a lot to dive in and dig into here, Austin. So starting with the concern, right? Another injury concern for Dest. It's just been a unfortunate pattern here recently, right? So he suffered a hamstring injury, over the weekend. He played that first half of the defeat against Rayo at Camp Nou, right before being replaced by Lenglet. So, 4 to 6 weeks, missed the remaining part of the season there for Barcelona. It's just tough to see, right? Because I think he had the abductors pass. He missed some USMNT games. Had some injuries even before that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but obviously hamstring's not good. And it's just tough because where Barcelona is, and obviously he was finally kind of adapting to that Xavi system right after some criticism from the media over there, for the fans, right? It's Barcelona, there's high expectations, but it just kind of seems like right now that they're in this transition phase where there's going to be a huge overhaul. And if you're not stepping up to the plate, and unfortunately, right, if injuries is preventing you from showcasing, you're going to be replaced like that. So kind of concerned there for him in the future, with Barcelona and just his injury history recently.
Yeah, and it really feels like this has been a yo-yo ever since Xavi came in, right? Like, when he first got there.
Analogy there.
Yeah, it was the whole narrative was, oh, Xavi doesn't rate him. He needs to leave. This was, I think, in the winter transfer window, right? And, there's so many teams linked to him in the winter. Then he stays, plays well for, a few games in a row. And, oh, Xavi loves him. He's the next, Dani Alves replacement and all that good stuff. And now it feels like he's back in that, that group of players that's like, oh, well, he's not up to the level here. And granted,
the Barcelona criticism, Austin. Maybe
that could be it. Yeah, that could be it. That's fair. I think that could definitely be it. And Barca haven't been playing well recently, so again, maybe some of the criticism is fair for him, right? I haven't been watching them too closely, but I do think the injury concern is some, or the injuries are definitely a concern, right? It seems like Serginho, has had some bouts with injuries this year. And a lot of our players have, right? Which is not a good sign. It's not something you want to see. So I think the bigger concern for me is not necessarily if his future is at Barcelona, because I really rate Serginho. I think he's going to be a good player wherever, he goes. I think he just has that quality offensively that, not too many fullbacks have in the world, to be quite honest. But the biggest concern to me is just, him staying healthy and the ability to stay healthy and be on the pitch to fight for his spot. I feel like, this season's been a little rough in that aspect for him.
Yeah, I think you kind of turned me there, and I'm with you. I think the injury is the bigger component because he does have the quality, that skill set, and just the modern fullback, right, that you see going forward. I mean, there's a majority, some of the, I guess, quote unquote, best, right, in the world right now that are lacking defensively and have some kind of lapses, but what they make up for is getting balls in the box, being in the attack, having those assists, right? High assist numbers for a lot of fullbacks now, which is it's kind of interesting how the game changed. But yeah, nonetheless, I think, I don't know. Yeah, it's just some of these injuries, specific injuries, right, for Dest, is concerning, and how will that impact him, right? Moving forward here, and just obviously we're thinking about this because the World Cup is coming up, so maybe it's better that it is in winter, right, for us this time, because it looks like the summer we have a lot of players still kind of recovering or just recently injured. So yeah, I think all in all, Dest will be fine. But yeah, Barcelona as a whole, just a really interesting spot, interesting time for them, because I feel like they have a lot of temporary players, like I don't think Aubameyang, I don't think I'm blanking. Who's the other attacker that just transferred? Was it from
Depay.
Depay, as well as
Who else are you thinking about?
Hull? Is he from Hull? Or not Hull? He's a bigger guy.
Adama Traore.
Adama.
Yeah.
But some of these guys, right, kind of mixed in with like your Dest or Pedri or some of those other guys. There's a lot of like transition kind of temporary players, right? I feel like that just kind of got on the cheap. Financially they're not in the best situation. So I guess that's the only reason why my thought was, if you can stay healthy, get rid of this injury bug, right, and continue to impress, right, and adapt to Xavi. I mean, to be a part of that rebirth and really kind of cement your place, because there's going to be a huge overhaul. I feel like you can see that coming.
Yeah, and I think your point too, to go the other way maybe with it as well, is like they don't have the money to go out and buy a top tier right back, or
you're right.
They can go gamble on another.
Do you sell Dest for the value he has?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could do that, but I don't know. I think at the end of the day, they're gonna need to commit to some of these players they have, right? The biggest problem with Barca in the past few years is them spending money that they don't have, right? And them not being intentional with who they buy and sticking with the players that they buy. And
Griezmann.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I don't know. I just think that's kind of, it wouldn't make sense to get rid of Dest right now and to kind of sell on him at this moment in time. But again, stranger things have happened. Barca have been making bad decisions for a few years now. So, if that's the decision they make, then so be it. We'll be here to support Dest either way.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I've heard some Bayern rumors circulating, but it's Barcelona, right? All the kind of negativity, right? And just you see it a lot with top players, right, in La Liga. I think obviously Bale's a whole other situation, but they're just, I mean, these are some of the best clubs in the world, right? You're held at such a high standard. So again, I think he's a player. He'll prove his quality. He has that mentality. I'm sure he's not on Twitter, right, checking every troll comment. So he'll be good in the long run, right, Austin?
Oh yeah. From everything we know about Serginho, that is the one thing we can guarantee he is not doing, is paying attention to what people say about him. So, yeah, I think with that being said, now it's time to head over to Quick Kicks.
All right, guys, it's my favorite part of the show. I know it's yours at this point, right? It's none other than Quick Kicks.
So to start Quick Kicks today, we have Tyler Adams, who started and played 90 minutes for Leipzig, although it was in their 2-1 loss to Union Berlin.
That's tough. And Yunus Musa and the Copa del Rey final. They did play to 1-1 draw before Betis did prevail in the shootout, 5-4. Musa failed to convert the penalty kick attempt, so the lone miss in the tiebreaker. So tough for the young guy, but he'll recover. He'll pick it back up.
Yeah, that was a tough one to see. But yeah, he's still super young and got a big career ahead of him. Going back to the Bundesliga, we have George Bello, who started and played all 90 minutes for Arminia Bielefeld in their 3-1 loss to Köln.
And Gianluca Busio started and played 61 minutes in a 3-1 loss to Atalanta. So unfortunately, Venezia will be in Serie B, Austin.
Yeah, that's what I saw over the weekend. That was not good news. Yeah, not sure what happens with him or Tasman for that matter too. So we'll have to keep our eye out on that situation. Going back to Germany, we have Joe Scally, who subbed on and played the final 21 minutes for Gladbach, and that was in their 3-3 draw with Freiburg.
Okay. And Anthony Robinson, 45 minutes as a substitute there for Fulham, right? Being promoted. Cheers to them and Ream in a 1-1 draw against AFC Bournemouth. Yeah,
and going over to the Netherlands, we have Cole Bassett, who subbed on for the final few minutes of their game there for Feyenoord and actually picked up an assist in their 2-1 win over Utrecht. So, first full team assist there with Feyenoord. So good to see, him getting game time and producing on the field.
Awesome. It's a great club, a great league. So happy for him. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And Luca De La Torre, the same league there, started and played the full 90 in a 1-0 win against Groningen.
Yeah, and going over to Belgium, we have Sam Vines, who started and played all 90 minutes for Royal Antwerp in their 1-0 loss to Bruges.
And EPB over in France started and played the full 90 in a tough 1-0 loss to Nice.
Always rated him. Always rated him.
Always.
Going over to France, we have Tim Weah, who started and played 90 minutes for Lille in their 1-0 win over Strasbourg.
And another Scottish Yankee we've always rated, CCV. Started and played the full 90 in a 2-0 win at Ross County.
All right, we got to keep it going, Pat. One more YAA we've always had on our list. No, now this is feeling crazy. That would be Haji Wright, who scored a goal for Antalyaspor in their 1-1 draw this weekend. Now brings his goal tally in Turkey to 11. So someone who's quietly been putting up goals this season. Got a lot of goals or scored a lot of goals. Early in the season. Cooled off a little bit. Now starting to heat up again. Good to see for him.
Yeah, and Austin, I gotta give you kudos, right, for a lot of those Turkish Super League teams. It's difficult to pronunciate, so I gotta give you kudos there. And Richie Ledesma started and went to played 63 minutes for Young PSV, and he had a goal. So that's awesome, right? And a 2-2 draw. So he's really making an impact, and hopefully we'll see him with the first team soon.
Yeah, good to see him. Just back on the pitch and producing this weekend. That was really cool. And going over to Portugal, we have Reggie Cannon, who started and played all 90 minutes for Boa Vista, but that was in a 3-0 loss to Sporting.
Okay. Stuff. And Kim Paredes, Austin, came off the bench for Wolfsburg on the 81st minute. It was a beatdown against Mainz, right, 5-0, but his second Bundesliga appearance, so hopefully more to come there.
Yeah, I really like, his prospects, and I think it's really good to see him getting playing time. We've seen some prospects come through at Wolfsburg who have not gotten playing time. I think that's a good, sign for the future. And our final player for Quick Kicks today is Jonathan Gomez, who started and played for Real Sociedad B in their 2-1 win this weekend. So good to see, him getting that consistent playing time over in the Segunda division in Spain. And rumors are he's going to get called up to Mexico this summer.
Ooh.
Hopefully we have, similar intentions as well, because he's, a can't miss player, someone who has a bright future ahead of him. And that's all for our show today, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
Don't forget Instagram. Oh, getting ahead of myself, Austin. Twitter, all the social media content. That now Elon Musk runs. But we'll still be posting. We'll still be tweeting all the soccer content for you guys.
That's right. We're a slave to the machine. Also, check us out. These episodes are available in podcast form, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. And we also have a merch store, too. So go check out our merch. We're going to drop some new line items this summer when we have a little bit more time, hopefully get that social media back up and running, full swing again. So big summer ahead, lot, to stay tuned for. So make sure you go check that out.
Seriously. I mean, we have, the youth tours, right? CONCACAF, we have the Nations League, obviously a lot of crucial friendlies here, coming up for a huge World Cup in the winter. So just stay on the tune, right? Like Austin said at the beginning, we have a lot of great content. We're doing some separate episodes here, on top of the weekly reports, but some really exciting topics in and around kind of the future and just the current state of the USMNT program. Because Austin, I think you say it episode after episode, but we've qualified. So what's the next step?
That's right, and that next step would be one day winning the World Cup.